police inspector attached to the Kano State Command, Aminu Ibrahim, has died from an accidental gunshot wound while on duty in the Hotoro area of Kano. The incident occurred on Saturday around 4:50 a.m. within the premises of Basnaj Global Resources Limited, according to a post by security analyst Zagazola Makama. Preliminary findings showed that the inspector accidentally shot himself in the stomach while squatting inside the toilet with his loaded AK-47 rifle hanging around his neck. The rifle, marked GT4177, was later recovered cocked with 29 rounds of ammunition remaining out of the 30 issued. Ibrahim was rushed to Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital, where a doctor on duty confirmed him dead. His body has been deposited at the mortuary for autopsy. I mean, there's so many. The report raises more questions than answers for me, but let me get your thoughts on these reports. Olawale.
I mean, it's a sad one. Like the few stories we have discussed over time, especially with how well trained our security operatives are. I mean, this is just a sad example of the training we all talk about. Right? I feel like when I want to believe that they are giving all this training, all these tips and tricks for people to use that phrase. I think it's a much more serious issue, but when you are in a particular profession, you have do's and don'ts, right?
Right.
So I'm sure they must have been taught all of that. Or when you are not, when there is no need to, to keep your gun in an unsafe mode. I mean, you should keep it locked and safe at all times, right? And some might say, oh, it's probably an oversight or a mistake. It's possible, but that's where you are supposed to be as professional as you can. I mean, as a security operative, you should be keeping an eye on your firearm at all times, especially when you want to drop it, you want to pick it up. I mean, except you are in front of a battlefield or a high tension situation, before you should think about even leaving your firearm in a fire mode, right? So, I mean, it's just all about training, and it's one thing for our security operatives to be trained. It's another thing for them to stick by this training. Most of them, permit me to say, go scot-free, in the sense that some of them are not necessarily even very careful. But until when things like this happen, people will continue to just leave. And I mean, professionals like them continue to just act as if these things do not happen or these things cannot happen.
Sadly so. You know that I think a few weeks ago, about a month or two, if I say so, an incident did arise of a boy that had picked up his father, his police officer father's gun, and he accidentally went off killing the man. Now, you've talked about training and all of that, and I mean, in the news today, the head of police services, Ekayode Egbetokun, has gone on to say they are introducing, digital methods on how to fight crime to all of the police force, and they're training people currently for that. I mean, usually parts of a gun where you can say it's been put on safe mode, except you're actively in battle, which you've rightly mentioned. Now, do you think that these trainings, the way it's usually said that you go to a university and you pass through the school or the school passes through you? As sad as this report sounds, I mean, everybody does the number 4. Sometimes you're back, you get into the bathroom, and you just want to ease yourself out. Do you think that these trainings actually pass through these police officers, where, I mean, it would be easier to have probably put the weapon on the floor, but it's really a sad story. Do you think that these trainings actually work in real time, or it's just being used as a field day report?
I mean, I want to believe it's been practicalized by professionals. But I mean, just in the span of this year alone, I don't know about the other guests and that come on the show, but I think I've talked about accidental discharges like 3, 4, up to 4 times. That's not a good score to keep as per. I mean, that's like the basic fundamentals of training. Like, You can't keep your gun on fire mode. And I get that maybe he was probably very pressed, and just the stomach can be really funny sometimes, but there are no excuses, because this is what can happen. There are stories of these things even happening to passers by and all of that. But now it has happened to someone who is actually carrying the firearm. So I feel like some of them stick to this training, some do not. And I think that's where the police, as an organization, has to come in and ensure consistency in their training. I've had friends work with some organizations that not police, they are more like security organizations,
Okay.
or more like an international organization. Like every 6 months, they have this consistent training. They either send you to go on more courses. They either we analyze your what's the best way to say? We analyze your skill set again. Like, okay, the next 6 months there'll be an exam, a practical exam,
right,
security operatives, and you are to do this and do that, just to make sure you remember your rules, remember your training, and also get more skills and further grow in that career when it comes to security. That's for an organization. I think that's what our police should be doing. We shouldn't just feel someone that did the training maybe 10 years ago, probably not even done training since then. I mean, it should be consistent. It could be yearly, it could be, every 6 months. Let them go back into training fields. I mean, the world is advancing. There are new, how would I put it? There are
systems
new,
and technology
weapons.
breaking ground. Yes.
There are new ideologies to, I've forgotten the particular word used, but rules of engagement. I mean, there are different methods that are coming up right now. So these are the training they should be getting. Aside from just even firearms. But in this part of the world, I don't think that happens. I feel like once you become, you pass your exams and your initial training, then you become a police inspector. You just begin to, work and probably do not train, do some practical analytical trainings any longer. That is where these things fail, because at some point, human beings, you feel like, oh, I've been in this job for 20 years. I'm a professional, in quote. Then you begin to feel you don't need to check this, you don't need to check that. I mean, in some countries, you find out that you're even supposed to make sure your firearms are cleaned on occasionally. But what can we really say? Most of our operatives in this part of the world usually do that. You hear cases like maybe they're engaging with some criminals and their guns are jamming and all of that. Yes, and yes, it could be old models of guns and whatnot. But if your ammunitions are properly taken care of, it's less likely to have situations like that. That's just more on the broader look of training and professionalism when it comes to security operatives here.